So if you want to, this is my table id, name, address. Okay, if I change this address to ddd, this is my table called emp. I am having 3 columns: id, name, address. I have inserted the value 101 as id, name as a, and address as ddd. Okay, after some days, if I update address to something, instead of ddd I updated to xxx, then okay, when I updated to address to xxx, then how you are going to say the old address? Can you remember? No, you can't remember, right? If you update some data in a table, how can you say the old value after some days? You can't say anything, right? So you can only say if you store history of that data, then only you can say that okay, this is the data which I updated. Okay, so the concept of storing history and other things, they are that you will be calling it as a slowly changing dimensions. In the slowly changing dimensions, there are many types. They are you will be calling it as type 0, type 1, type 2, 3, 4 and 5. What is a type 0 means? Okay, what is a type 0? Type 0 is nothing but, let's say this, okay, yeah, I will expand this. So this is my data. I am having a table as id and name. We'll go with the id and address. We'll go with the id and address as a column name. So id is 101, address is AAA. Now if I update the address AAA to BBB, okay, then if I see the data again, okay, I still have the address AAA. The BBB will not be updated. That is a type 0. In type 0, even though if you update, the update will not occur. Okay, you can't change anything. Even though if you make any changes, the changes will not be implemented on the tables. So this concept is nothing but the type 0. No one uses this. Next, you got one more concept called type 1. In the type 1, what you are going to do is that if I this, okay, I'll have the same concept, id, address, id, address. Now if I have the id 101 and AAA, if I update it to BBB, so normally what happens? I'll have the 101 and output will be the BB. If you see, the address, the old value will be overwritten with the new value. That is a type 1. Now what about the type 2? Type 2 dimension is, I'll write at the top, this is the type 0, this is the type 1, this is called the type 2. Okay, in the type 2 I will have the same thing, id, address, id, address. You see, if I have id 101 and address as AAA, if I update it to BBB, then what happens in the type 2? Okay, they will have now one record, 101 AAA will be the old record, and there 101 BBB, you are going, it is going to insert a new record for the new value, and at the same time you will also have one more column called status, which says which is the active one. So for AA is the old one, right? So it will say inactive. BB is a new one, so it will say active. So you will add one more column. So whenever you update the data, the old data will be as it is. A new, for update, when you update, the new data will be inserted as a new record, and the status will be given as the active. Are you able to get my point? Hello? Hello everyone. So that is the type 2. Now we are going to, we'll see the type 3. So I cover, right, type 1, type 2, type 0, type 1, type 2 I cover. Next we will go with the type 2, type 3. So in the type 3 I'll have the ID, address, right? This is my actual data. ID is 101, address is AAA. If I update it to BBB, what it will be in the type 3 is that ID, address. Here I will be having the ID 101, but the address column is divided into two columns. One is the address old and the other is the address new. I will add one more column called address new. So my old address will be as AAA, new address will be as BBB. Okay, so my new address will be BBB. And if I update BBB to something, if I add a new address called CCC, then old address will be BBB and new address will be CCC. Okay, this is a type 3. What is a type 4? Type 4 is nothing but you will have the data in a separate table. ID, address. So you will have 101 AAA, you are updating to BBB, right? Then what happens? Instead of storing the historical data in the same table, see, previously everything was stored in the same table, but now you will have the ID and address as the same thing, 101 BBB, it will be there, but the history is stored in some other table. So in that table you will have the ID, address, or whatever the thing you want to action type, whether it is inserted or delete, like we did in a triggers, right? The same way you can do it here. Action, oh sorry, or change or date, change a date, something. Okay, action or whatever you want. So here I will have the 101 AAA as deleted, 101 BBB as inserted. I can, if I want, I can add a new date also accordingly. Okay, these are the type 4 dimension. We got one more dimension called type 5. Type 5 is a combination of mixture of all the dimensions. If we mix one or two dimensions, then it is nothing but the type 1. Like if we mix a type 0, means if you mix type 0 and type 4 dimension, means what is the type 0? Type 0 means you will not update the data, but whenever user tries, whatever the data is able to is trying to update it, you will not be able to update, but at the same time it will also capture which records the user is trying to update in a separate table. Okay, mixing of multiple dimensions, you will call it as type 4 dimension, sorry, type 5 dimension. Okay, so type 0 dimension means no action will be occurred. If you perform insert or update, nothing will occur. Okay, what is the type 1 dimension? Means old value is replaced with the new value, replaced with the new value. So this will be the type 2. See, type 2, type 1 is nothing is happened. In the type 2, old value is, sorry, am I saying wrong? Yeah, type 1 is old value is replaced with the new value, and type 0 is even though if you replace, it will not be affected. Type 1 is the old value is replaced with the new value in the output, you can see. Type 2 is a new record is inserted. Okay, the old record will be as it is, a new record will be inserted, and that will, it will name it as a active status. Okay, type 2, that is the reason. Are you able to get my point? Hello? So type 2 means a new record will be inserted, record. Okay, and type 3 means it will not have a record, it will have a column, new column. So if I show the type 3, then you can see in the type 3 a new record is not there, but I am having additional column which says that address old and address new. It says which address is new and which address is old. Okay, this is a type 3. Type 4 means you will have a, whatever the history you want to capture, you will be capturing a separate table. You will be using a separate table for the type 4 dimension. So type 5 dimension is nothing but the mixing of all the tables. That's it. Okay, mixing all the dimensions, that is nothing but the type 5 dimension. So mostly no one uses the type 0. By default it will be the type 1. You have seen in many classes, right? In our classes we updated, but there is no history for that, so it is type 1. So you might, in few cases you might use the type 2 and type 3. And if you want something like auditing, we did right last time, who updates, if anyone updates or deletes, you use the trigger, right? Same thing you can do by using the type 4 dimension. Okay, that concept is nothing but the type 4 dimension. Okay, so don't worry, type 4 is nothing but you need to write some code, nothing but it is not like writing a code. You have seen, right, create table means you use a create statement, but here type 1 type 2 dimension is nothing but it's a concept. So you can implement this concept in any way you want. Okay, so most one is that very rarely you will be using type 0. I have never seen people using a type 0. So you will be using the type 1. It's a commonly, right, because they don't want anything on the historical data. If they want, then your type 2, you can use a type 2, but very rarely you will be using type 3. More frequently, you will be using most frequently you will be using the type 4. Okay, depends on the company. If you take myself, I would most cases I use the type 4 dimension. Some people, they never use the type 4, they directly use the type 2 dimension. Okay, depends. Okay, so these are nothing but the slowly changing dimensions in TSql server. Now what I am going to show, I am going to show you one more concept called common table expressions. Okay, there is a concept called common table expressions in the SQL server. Common table expressions means, I will go to here. There is a concept called CTEs. CTEs means common table expressions. Okay, CTEs means common table expression. So what is meant by common table expression? We have seen the temp table, right? What does temp table? We have seen a concept called variable table, variable of type table, right? We declare the variable of data type called table, right? So there are two concepts you have seen. What this two concept does, you are going to store. Can someone please mute your microphone? When I ask questions, you can unmute at that time. Okay, so I am having a temp table and a variable table. Why you use them? You use them because if you want to store the data temporary purpose, then you are going to use the temp table and variable table, right? So what is the purpose of temp table and variable table? Let's see. For the temp table, it uses the, as I said, temp table uses the memory, system memory. It uses the temp DB, but as variable uses the system memory. Okay, and here one more issue is that when you use a temp DB and you load some data into a temp table, then you can when you try to, and so this is my process. I created my temp table at the beginning, and even though if you don't use temp table in all the other steps, the temp table will be still exist in the database and it will occupy the space. Okay, temp table will be still execute and it will also occupy the space. And what is a variable table? Variable table also, what it is going to do, whenever you create a variable called table, it will also occupy some space. Because of that, if 10 people are storing the same 10 people are storing different kinds of data, like if you want to store some 100 GB of data, like you will have some data which will be in millions. Okay, then if you use temp tables to store the data, the space will be occupied, the space, because temp database uses the temp DB, right? And it will not, temp DB, you know, very rarely you will be having the temp DB size as 100 GB. And table variable, since it uses a RAM never be, you can see, right, most very big companies, they never uses the RAM more than 64 size, very rarely they will be using 100 GB. So because there will be a change, and not only you will be using, there will be many other processes using the RAM and the temp DB, right? So because of that, the space will not be sufficient and the package fails, the system will fails, right? So in the same way, is there any scenario where we should store the data, okay, but it should not occupy space? It should store the data, but it should not occupy space. So there is a concept called CTE. What CTE does, is going to store the data. It is going to store the data, but it's not going to use much of your resources. Okay, it's like virtual view. You have the view on the table, you got the view, right? Same way for storing the data temporarily, you will be using the CTC. Like for the table, if you want to load the, if you, like view is nothing but the virtual to the table, right? This CT is nothing but it's a virtual. You can call it it's a nothing but it's a temporary. It's a logical space or virtual space where you are going to store the data for time being. Okay. Now what I am going to show is that I have a table. I will show you a simple CTE. So this is my table I am having. Okay, this is the table I am having now. What is my scenario is it? If I do the order by, oh, order by CID. When I use this, I can see some duplicate records, right? I can see some duplicate records for each and every data. See, A has duplicate records. See, all the records are same. Okay, B has some duplicate records. All the records are same. Now C has some duplicate, like 8 has some duplicate records. Okay, there are many things that you have. Now if I want to get only distinct records, if I want to get distinct record, or else I'll go this way. I'll edit top 200 rows. Everything has one yes and no. So 101 I add the other thing, so I'll make this one as no. 102 I'll make it as yes. Oh, then my yeah, I got it right. Okay, I'll update, then it is going to update all the things. Yeah, inserting in new record, that will be okay. Why? 103 103 I'll have as y. 104 I'll have as 103 will be CCC DDD. Now I'll have something data with no. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'll just do the top 100 rows, select top on 1000 rows. Now you can see I am having a data, but they are duplicate records. So what I will be doing, order by, so in order to see the duplicate records, I will do order by CID. When I use this, I got, for the A I got 7 records, for the B I got like many records, right? 6 records for the B. Next, 7 records for the B. C has 3 records, and the D has other. It has more records, right? So now my scenario is it, I want to get 1 record from each ID. Okay, I want to get 1 record. So this is my requirements. So the way I want to get the data is that, get the data like if I have 101, so in the 101 the name is same, right? ABC is, so A's name. Assume that the one ID and name will be same, only the active status will be different. Okay, active status y and n, right? We have one status called y and n, only that will be varied. Now what is my scenario is that, for all the records I want to get only the data where it is y. I am having duplicate records, right? So you might see some data like this. Okay, so for the A I am having n and y, but my scenario is that I want to get only the record where it has y. Okay, I want to get the record only where it has y. So normally how you can do it in one different way, right? So we will try to do in different ways. Where if I do distinct, what happens? I'll get n and y, both I will be getting C. Okay, distinct means it will take combination of all the 3 columns. See, I'll get n and y for all the columns. See, for D also I got. My scenario is that I want to get the records only where is active is equal to y. Okay, now we can do it the other way. Where, okay, is active equal to y. Oh sorry, there is a space, I will do this. Okay, now when I do now, see, now you got the distinct records. So what system is doing now? First it is doing distinct, or else first what it is doing, it is filtering all the records where it is y. After that it is doing the distinct. Okay, this is a one way to get the distinct records, but it is a one column. Okay, you got it, but there may be other column. Let's say this is a way. For the same column, I'll add one more column to the table. I'll add something like date column. Okay, or date or year. I'll give month, year and month, year and month. Okay, year underscore month, and it will be a varchar. I am going to give it as a varchar, or else what I'll do the date only, date add, or date added, or date insert, and I'll add it as a date time. Okay, this is a column that I am going to add it now. I have added. Now what I want, I'll click on the table, edit top 200 rows. Okay, in that I'll give date for each and everything, 2013-01-01. There's some issue with the data, I'm not sure. Give a minute. Yeah. Okay. I'll add few records, that will be okay. I'll delete the old records. I'm not sure, but I never faced this issue. Okay, I'll go with the AAA. Now I'll give it is as Y. Okay, so I'll give it as date called 2012 dash 01 dash 01. Okay, then I'll have one more 101 AAA, same the status is Y, and it is 2012 dash 02 dash 01. It is different month. 101 AAA. Now it is like N, and it is having like 2012 dash 03 dash 01 or something. I'll give 2011 dash 01 dash 01, anything. Okay, now I'll have the 102 dash PBB Y 01 102 dash BBB Y. So 2011 to 2012 dash 01 dash 01. This is, let's go with the two records. Okay, save. Now what I'll do, I'm going to do the top 1000 rows and delete the records where it is Y equal to null. Delete the record where date insert is equal to null. Delete from table name where date insert is null. Yeah, 24 records are deleted. Yeah, now I'll see the top 1000 rows. Now what you can see is that, yeah, you can see the records. Like we are having two records, one is a 101A and other is a B. Now my scenario is that I want to get the records. When I do this, what happens? I'll get the records. Okay, so I got the records where it took the distinct and it has, but I also want to get the date. When I use a date insert, now you will get two records for each one. Yeah, now I get two. So instead of getting one, right, for A I got two records, for BBB I got two records. Right, now in this scenario what I want to get the record which has a maximum date. So you need to write multiple things. You need to write multiple concepts here. You need to write multiple scenarios. Like this is a way. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So what I can do now, there's other concept called don't do anything Y or anything. You can do it by using the order by. So I'll use a row number. Okay, I'll use a row number over, and since I want to get one record for one company ID, right, so it will be partition by company ID. Okay, and order by, on which order I need to take? I need to take order by this active MNO. You will be waiting, right? A B C D F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y. So in order to get the record Y first, so you need to order by is active. Okay, is active descending order, because you need to get Y as first, and in that Y also you need to get the date insert the maximum date you want to get. Okay, so you will be ordering that one also by descending. Now what I will do, when I do as row number, now see here, when I execute this, automatically you got the row number. See, for 101 I got 3 records, right? Out of 3 records I got the row number 1 for the maximum is active Y, and I also want the record with the maximum date. So that record was given the rank 1, row number as 1, rest all other given 2, 3. Same in the BB, the second record 102, I am having 2 dates. In that I got the maximum date as a 1, right? So for this one, if I want to get it, what I am going to do, let's say I want to delete all the data, or if I want to make something from the table, if I have duplicate records, if I want to get only one record and I want to use that record in other query. Okay, then what you are going to do, you are going to create a CT. That concept name is called CT. So how you are going to create a CT, it is called with, you will give the CT name, anything. I'll write it as test CT. Okay, after so whenever you write the CT, right, I'll give the test CT as, then bracket open, bracket close. Now I can call my CT now. Okay, after writing the CT, you will give the colon. Oh, sorry, before the CT you will have the colon if it is not the first statement. Okay, so now what I will do, select star from test CT. I'll do and I'll execute now. Whatever the data I got it, right. So what it does now, it will store whatever the data you got from this, that one will be stored under this name. Now you can use that same name as a table. Now since I got the duplicate records, I will use where rn equal to 1. When I use rn equal to 1, I will get only the records which are the first one. Like I will get only the records which I needed, because the row number is playing a majority role. The roll number is playing a major role. It is based on your requirement. It is giving ranks to the numbers. So you will be taking only a record which has the first rank. That's it. See, now I use, I'll get them. Okay. So CT is nothing but whatever the data you are getting, the data is stored in this one, and the same thing you can use as a table, same like the temp table. But now you can see, if I call the same query again, okay, if I call the same query again, okay, I am calling and I am executing this all the queries here. So what happens? See, when you called, it executed, but second time it is saying, see, invalid object name test CT. What is meant by that? Already you created, right? It ran for the first query, but it didn't run for the second query. Why? Because what's the major role of the CT is that, and it will, when you create a CT, the data will be stored in that name, and you can use that name immediately after creation. That's it. Only once you can create, only in one query you can create. You can't use that one in after other query. Okay, see, after this, okay, I'll do something like print CT. If I use this way and if I execute, then also my CT is not going to work. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not calling the CT name here. Okay, I'm not calling the CT name, but still what happens, still okay, yeah, see, common table expression defined but not used. What is meant by that? You have defined the common table expression, but you are not using that. That is also an error. So the basic thing of the common table expression is that whenever you create, you need to use immediately after creation. You need to use immediately after creation and only in one selected statement. That's it. You can't use that arg. So once this query is run, and if you have something, if you try to use the other one, if you try to use the same common table expression next, then what system does? Once it is used, it will be automatically removed from the memory. So when you try to use, it will say that okay, it could not find. So that's why you will be getting error as the test CTE could not be found. See, invalid object name test CTE, because you got it, you stored all the value with the name test CTE and you use them, right? Select means you are using that. When you use it, done. After completion of this, that one will be removed from the memory, system memory. So whatever the memory you think. And after that, when you try to call it again, it will throw an error that stating that whatever the object you are looking, it doesn't exist in the database. Okay, but I can use the same common table expression in the same expressions. Let's say I'll give the T1. I'm joining inner join for only for sample purpose. Same data. Actually, it's not a correct join, but in order to show, see, I can use the same common table expression in the same table on T1 dot ID equal to, or CID, it is CID, sorry, CID equal to T2 dot CID. Okay. Now what I will do is, where T1 dot equal to T1 dot row number equal to 1 and T2 dot row number equal to 2. Okay, now when I run, see, now it is going to work. Even though I am using 2 times, but I am using the common table expression 2 times, right? But I am using this one for the single time. I am using the select statement. I am using in a single select statement. So here what's happening is that the majority purpose, if you want to store the data in a temp table, what happened? It occupies some space. Because of there will be memory concern. But what CTE does, it's nothing but the virtual. It goes, it executes the data. So see, when I write the select statement, if I get some data from the select statement, right, where you will be storing that select statement data, that data will not be occupying, means it's only for temporary purpose, right? It will not occupy any physical memory. Okay, same way when you use a CTE, it will not occupy any, it's like the virtual space that will be used by the CTE to store the data. And immediately after using the CTE, you need to always use the CTE immediately after creating, and once you use that, from the next step the space will be freed and the object will be destroyed. That's it. Okay, because of that the performance will be very high in the sense you can directly use, like it's nothing but it's a concept called the derived table. We are going to see that later on. Okay, so see, I stored the value only once, but I am using that 2 times. For joining the same table, I am using 2 times. Because of the what's happening, instead of storing the same data in multiple locations, I am just storing in one. That is also not in a completely like it is not occupying any space. It's only like the logical view, right? So it's not, it's a kind of logical view. You will call the common table expression other kind of it's kind of a logical view. That's it. Okay, so because of that, that's because by using the CTE, it will occupy less space and the performance is also more. Okay, because why the performance also more? The CTE, once the CTE is used, it will be automatically destroyed. That's it. Okay, and like it's a kind of different things. It's I can explain you in a real time scenario. I have a temp DB, or like you have a bus. Okay, in the bus, how the system, how you will be storing that, how the people will enter. People who need to get down at last stop, they will go back, and the people who want to get down at the next stops, they will be in the front, right? The same way CT also internally, like it stores the structure like in a such a way that since common table expressions will be removed, will be in, that one will be like it's a virtual view. It is a like a logical view where the data will be freed immediately after its usage. Immediately after creating the common table expression, it will be used, and after that immediately the space will be freed. It means that, so the common table expression will be actively observed by our SQL server. It's a kind of, I don't want to go in depth. It's a kind of that way. So whoever wants to come early, you will be the first. Whoever wants to be at the late, it will be whoever wants to get down from the bus at the end or last stop, they will be sitting at the back. Whoever wants to like get down at next stop, they will be in the front. So same way on the system memory, the memory resources also will be allocated fast to the CTE, because it will be removed easily, right? And it's like it's a more concentration is there, will be there on the CTE. Whenever you use a CTE, the system will have more concentration. It's a kind of, it will have more it's not a exact example, but the system will have more concentration on the CTE than the temp table and the table variable. Okay, the basic thing you will be calling the CTE as a logical view. It's the other name you will call the CTE as a logical view. Are you able to get my point? Hello? Hello? Hello?